So you have to look at it and say, hey, is from an investment perspective, is it just better if I look at the numbers? Is it better not to renovate or to just do minor renovations to get this house sold? Or is it better to really, nope, let's commit, let's get in there, let's really make this thing shine?
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying this show, let us know about it. Leave us a rating and review. It helps us get the right guests to help you grow your investing business, and it also helps other investors find this show. And listen, if you haven't done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Tommy Whitehead. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. Tommy Whitehead is a licensed contractor and president of Tomco Solutions, Inc., a leading LGBTQ advocate in the construction industry. Now, he's recognized for his philanthropy and was named among the Tampa Bay Business Journal's Outstanding Voices 40 Under 40 and honored as a Philanthropist of the Year in 2023. When not working, he enjoys quality time with his husband, Nathan, and his son, Matthew, exploring theme parks and museums or relaxing by the pool. Let's welcome to the show, Tommy Whitehead.
John, it's a pleasure to be here. I always love it when a fellow podcaster reaches out, and especially when they want to talk about real estate, investment, economic opportunity, diversity. These are all hot button items for me. I can go on and on and on, probably longer than your show will allow. But thank you for having me on. I'm excited about this conversation today.
Absolutely. Hey, Tommy, I appreciate it. And I'm excited to talk to you as well. I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Absolutely. So again, my name is Tommy Whitehead. I am the president and CEO of Tomco Solutions, which is a general construction firm located in the Tampa Bay region of Florida. I'm a little bit of a disruptor in my industry. You know, the typical contractors are great people. They get their work done, but they're always stuck in the field. I try to do things a little differently. I try to be more of the community-centric involvement in the area. I put myself or work towards volunteer opportunities, board seats in the area. I focus a lot in networking in the area, and actually, you know, we're doing nationwide networking as well, trying to connect other influencers and disruptors in industries to make a better impact on our community. I have recently launched a capital company. So quite frequently, capital companies are looking for contractors or contractors are looking for capital companies, and then they can never find each other. It's like two ships passing in the middle of the night. Well, I thought, well, what if your private equity fund manager was a contractor? You know, you can't dodge deadlines if you know him, because you know you wake up looking in the mirror at him every day. So I decided to go down that path, and then I'm dropping a book. It'll be out just in a few weeks on June 1st, which coincides with my 40th birthday, and that book's called Building Success. So toolbox are coming out on top, and it's a little bit about my life as growing up in a poor environment here in the South, and how I've taken all these challenges and changed them into opportunities to work and attack these problems in a very creative approach, surrounding myself with some great people. So it's a lot to digest, but I'm in a lot of different spaces there, and always moving into others.
I love to hear it, Tommy. You talked about, one being in Tampa Bay, you've got your firm, Tomco Solutions, taking a little bit of a different approach to the construction industry, really being community centric, focusing on developing those relationships, networking, and figuring out that win-win solution for everyone. You also talked about getting into the capital side of it. So now bringing your own capital, working with other investors, and then managing the deals from that perspective. You've got a book coming out as well. So you got a lot of stuff going on. Let's start with the construction company. Okay, Tomco Solutions. One, why did you feel the need to launch a construction company, and specifically to make it more community centric as opposed to the approach that we typically see out of construction firms?
Great. I hear two good questions in that. So we'll start with the why I started. I started a construction company by accident. And that's kind of weird, right? I used to be a director of finance and accounting. I worked in large scale hospitality operations with condo hotels, with marinas, with golf courses, with spa, food and beverage, club operations. Very intricate financial models for tens of millions of dollars that I can make Excel sing and dance for you. Uh, the economy took a downturn in Florida a long time ago. This would have been almost 15 years ago, and I decided, okay, I got to find a new job, like we all do. I'd gotten into property management a little bit, found out I had an aptitude for property management, managing vendors. Had a former colleague call me, and he was starting up with this new company called Calling American Homes. Calling American's since been absorbed by Invitation Homes, but they were new and said, "Hey, we have $1 billion to renovate foreclosed real estate." And I know you don't have a ton of construction experience, but we've worked together on costing projects, and we know you can do it. And I'm helping to mentor you. You want to come on board? So I said, sure. We're doing up to 325 flips a month in our busiest time as a project manager. So, how did I get in construction? I got thrown in just by the sheer quantity of projects I've touched. I would sometimes have 14, 15 inspections in a day. And I've seen everything. And when I say everything, I mean abandoned animals, lost property, people that look like they just walked out the door and left their entire lives. I have seen nice and clean property. I've seen biomedical hazard situations. I've seen drug houses where they've removed the air conditioner and tapped into the live power line before it hits your meter, not shutting it off, tapped in. We've had dead bodies. We've had hidden still rooms. We've had floods, pools popping out of the ground. Just any type of construction process you could possibly imagine in the renovation space, I've kind of seen and had to come up with a solution in that realm. So that's kind of how I got into construction. Now, as far as the philanthropy part, I grew up poor. My husband grew up poor. We didn't have a lot of opportunities when we were growing up. We had to pull ourselves up and try to push. And every time I see a kid that's not sleeping right, a kid that doesn't have the money for lunch, a kid that doesn't have the opportunities that life affords others through no fault of their own, I try to do what I can to help them. Uh, whether that's helping animal shelters, helping kids, helping other causes, veterans. I mean, I'm a sucker for pretty much any cause out there. But you get back tenfold what you give as long as you're giving it genuinely. I have the ability to reach out and touch just one life, one person, and give them something, some hope that they didn't have, to show them, hey, I was a poor little trailer trash kid when I grew up. I had to dream big, and I had to execute, and it was hard, and I've fallen down a lot of times to get to where I'm at today. But you can do it too, and look at me. I didn't come with a golden spoon in my mouth. So if we can make that small impact in community, that can just uh, fan out like a wildfire. And so that's important to me. It's part of my mission for my company. I even require my employees to pick a cause and go volunteer one day a month in a cause they believe in. They get free reign, and I pay them to go volunteer just so we can get more people out in the community working.
Man, I love that. And I love the fact that you stand behind that mission and your values by having your employees do the same thing, being recognized for all that work. I know that you don't do it for the recognition, but it's
Mhm.
great to be recognized with the impact you're having. The Tampa Bay Business Journal's, outstanding voices, recognition, 40 under 40, the philanthropist of the year. I think it just goes to show what it means to really build a community, because you are obviously touching a lot of people, and these individuals are recognizing the hard work you're putting into it. On the construction side of it, what are the kind of projects you're doing today?
So today we focus primarily on residential projects. We're actually going to start moving into the commercial space soon, but right now what we're focusing on is anything from complete custom builds, disaster restoration projects, kitchens, baths, tons of renovations. It might be additions. It just might be a new kitchen. Um, as we are evolving in the company, especially with the launch of the capital company, we are now targeting distressed commercial assets to convert them into performing residential assets in the affordable housing space. So it's not as attractive and sexy as a 22% return on investment like you might get on $1 million condo, but it's less speculative because when you launch affordable housing, it is guaranteed to fill up. The need is dire right now. And so you can still make money doing affordable housing, and you can do good doing it. And it's less risky. because like I said, you have your client base. So it's like it gives you the warm feels all the way around. And that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, you talked about working in residential primarily, looking to make that transition into commercial, focusing on distressed commercial real estate, and then converting that into affordable housing. I want to go back to the residential side real quick because I know you
Okay.
work with investors and retail buyers. Talk to us about those investors in particular because our listeners are pretty much investors, right? That's one of the reasons they
Okay.
listen to the show. When we are working with contractors, what are some of the common mistakes you see investors make?
Okay. So the first mistakes start when they're not working with contractors. I get a call, a couple of them a month usually. Hey, I need an after the fact permit. Well, what's an after the fact permit? And some of you might not know. That's you've completed all the work, usually with an unlicensed individual, and it might look great, but you got caught. The insurance company, they're really pushing down. The municipality caught something. Somebody along the way caught that there was an addition or change in your house, and usually it'll happen all the way at the sales process, which you're really in a bad spot if you wait to get to closing when you're trying to sell your investment and this comes up. But that's the first issue. And so I get these calls, hey, we just got to sign paperwork for an after the fact. No. It usually involves an architect getting involved, a contractor getting involved, sub trades getting involved. We all have to put our licenses on the line to justify that house was completed properly. Sometimes that involves taking out everything that you just did and redoing it, even if it's done correctly, because you can't see what's behind the walls. And so that's my first advice is, hey, you want to save a couple dollars here by using what we call the Craigslist contractor, and some of them may actually do good work. But if they're not supervised, if the permits aren't pulled, if the inspections don't happen, you literally could be throwing your investment away. And I've had multiple people call me and say, we don't have the money to put another 30,000 into this. And I'm like, I'm very, very sorry for where you're at. But because you tried to save money on the front side and not use the proper professionals, not do it licensed with the proper licensing and permitting, it causes you more issues. That's step one. Use licensed professionals to get this done. It's going to cost a little bit more, but when you get to the closing table, you can be like, yep, here's my plumber's invoice. Here's my contractor's invoice. Here's the permits closed. This was done legitimately. You know it's cool. It's going to help you sell faster. When you do get a licensed contractor, when you do start your project, the other biggest thing I can give investors advice is don't get emotional. Don't come in dreaming big because you wanted to be a designer and you think this is look great and you have this. Most of those dreams are you dreaming of what it would look like if you lived in that space. You're a real estate investor, you are not living in that space. If somebody comes in and says, I want black and gold all over the walls, and they pay you to put black and gold over the walls, I don't care how hideous it is, I bet you're going to put black and gold on those walls, right? Because you aren't doing this for your personal edification because you have a personal brand to stamp. No, you need to give a clean, safe, marketable product so that you can make money. That's what investors are here to do. So, you like that open concept? That's great. You're probably not wrong that it would look better as an open concept. Well, if an open concept requires structural plans and changes and you're spending $60,000 on it and it's not going to make you $60,000 in return, don't put the money into it. I talk my clients out of business all the time. I'm like, no, don't add that bathroom. I the bathroom's going to cost you 50 grand and the market's only dictating an extra 25 grand on a two bathroom versus a one bathroom in this neighborhood. I said, I would love to take your 50 grand. I'll take it. If you want to write a check, that's great. But does it really add the value back? Use professionals around you to determine that, and realtors are usually great resources. Of course, if they're selling your house, they're going to look for everything new, they want everything perfect. But that's where an investor comes in and says, okay, the realtor wants everything brand new and perfect. And of course, the contractor would love to renovate it all and collect that revenue. But is putting that 100 grand into this rehab going to yield at least 100 grand or more? And really, you want it or more. You want it to yield 120 grand if you're putting 100 grand in or more than that. So you have to look at it and say, hey, is from an investment perspective, is it just better if I look at the numbers? Is it better not to renovate or to just do minor renovations to get this house sold? Or is it better to really, nope, let's commit, let's get in there, let's really make this thing shine because it's going to yield a much better project for me.
I mean, you just gave two really important pieces of feedback. The first is make sure you're going through the process the right way. Hire the right contractors, make sure they're licensed, make sure they're bonded, make sure they're following the city's guidelines and they're pulling permits because the worst thing that can happen is you get to the end, they, realize you don't have the proper permits and now you got to go back and undo some of the work you've done because you didn't do it properly the first time. Even if it was done, the work itself was done correctly, if you didn't pull the proper paperwork, you may be forced to go and redo that. And it sounds like after work or after the fact permits, what it's called in Tampa. I know we don't have that in Ohio or Chicago, but that those situations absolutely come up and happen if your insurance company, or again, you get caught with a violation if you're doing unlicensed work. So don't fall into that trap. That's the very first thing. Second thing you said there was, once you're working with that contractor, understand that this is not your forever home. So do what the market says. Don't necessarily upgrade everything or over improve that property. It's an investment. Treat it like an investment. I actually had a call with one of my coaching clients yesterday, and we had the same conversation. They were looking at a deal. It needed a lot of work, so they were going to put like $17,000 per unit into the renovation, but the rent bump was only going to be $50. And I was like, "What are
Mhm.
we talking about here? Why would you spend $17,000 to make an additional $50? Like, I don't even know why we're exploring this." So we had to have that conversation because this guy's he's got a background as an engineer, a structural engineer. So he wanted everything to
Mhm.
be, tight. And I want to replace that. And we got to replace all the mechanicals. I'm like, I understand that. But as an investor, we also have to look at the economic impact of these decisions so that we know we're doing the right thing. So really great point. I think sometimes it's really hard for people transitioning into being an investor to really focus on the numbers as opposed to, hey, let's replace this or pull that out. How do you get people to come to grips with that and then maybe get over maybe the emotional side of what they're seeing or what they think they want to do and really focus on what's best for that property and the investment?
That's a great question. So first of all, I asked them point blank, "Are you here to make money on this investment?" I already know the answer, right? The answer should be yes. Nobody's like, "No, I don't want to make anything." Nobody ever says that. They say yes. And I'm like, "Okay, let's just look at the numbers. If we cut this, and this from your budget, if we do this way, it's still going to be a clean, safe house. It's going to be more affordable repairs, and it's going to make it marketable. Maybe you don't need to rip out that shower surround. If there's nothing leaking with it and it's bright pink, consider doing an epoxy spray on it. Instead of spending $20,000, you can spend $1,000, $2,000, get the same crisp look. Because if the house is only going for $200,000, do you need a $20,000 shower surround? Probably not. All right. Unless that's what the market dictates. If every other house on the block, your comp sets, if every other house on the block has that brand new shower surround, then yeah, you're probably not going to sell that with a reuse. But most likely, they all have a similar type shower surround. And you just want to make it look clean, white, and pretty. And you can do that, and it gives it like a 5-year extended lifespan. The materials are still good behind it. You may need to respray in 5 years, but that's maintenance on the house, and it lets you sell. I'm not talking about doing shoddy repairs. Definitely not. But do I want to put a Kohler faucet in there, or do I want to put a Home Depot special faucet in there? Really depends. A Kohler faucet, if I'm over $300,000, I really want that statement to pop out in the kitchen. But if it's a $200,000 house and they're just needing a house because you can't find houses for $200,000 in Florida right now, then that basic builder grade faucet is what goes in because that's what you sell. Is it the product you want to put out? Maybe not, but you're not living there and you're providing a proper product. It's not like you're giving a secondhand beat up faucet and just trying to be a slumlord. That's not what you're doing. You are building to the market, and that's okay. You have to look at it that way, just from a numbers perspective. Gets challenging. Some homeowners don't want that, and then I have inevitable. I even had an investor couple. They did not choose to go with me. They called me for a second project. Said, "How'd that first project?" You're like, "We should have listened to you. We lost $20,000." I said, "Yeah." So the second project, they wanted to add a bathroom, and I said, "Yeah, it's going to be $40,000 or more." They're like, "Oh, we won't make that much money." And they're like, "We just won't do that." I'm like, "Good, you learned."
That's
You learn. You were trying to save a
good.
dollar and you spent 10 to do it. So
It's lovely to see people learn from their mistakes and
yeah.
progress as investors. Because sometimes it takes a hard lesson, right? You hear
Mhm.
someone say it, but you have this vision in your head, so maybe you go down. But you have to sometimes bump your head once or twice to learn. Oh, this is why people do it this way. Okay, I
Mhm.
got it. Appreciate you sharing that. I want to go back to kind of where you see the vision moving forward. You talked about moving into the commercial space and focusing on distressed assets and converting them into affordable housing. Talk to us a little bit more about that strategy. What kind of assets are you looking at? Is it just multifamily? Is it different, asset classes? And then what does that conversion process look like?
Okay. So I'm going to speak to Florida because that's my best knowledge, but municipalities all over the country are looking at this. There is a projected decrease in valuation for commercial real estate. We're already seeing it happen. Will it be a massive market event? I don't know. We'll let the economists debate that, and you can look at the left and the right, and they'll both have two different opinions, and somewhere in the middle is hopefully what actually happens. But what you're seeing is you're seeing people work from home now. So office space, the need for office space is decreasing in many, many parts of the country. What happens when you have excess supply, and you don't have the demand? It's basic economics. It decreases the prices of the buildings. And so now we have derelict buildings sitting, but we still have people needing houses because they're spending more time in their houses now. So what I'm looking for is asset classes that maybe are on the down low. Maybe they're on the downward spiral. They're just 50% occupancy. They're less people that they just need to get out of the building. Some of these properties are even just getting turned back over to the banks because it doesn't make sense. So I'm actually starting to negotiate and talk with banks about, hey, why don't we turn this into affordable housing and turn it into a performing asset? I might even pay a little bit more than what you would get at market rate right now, or it won't sit on the market for 5 years. In those asset classes, an ideal situation would be something like a motel, an old Motel 6 that already has the plumbing and configurations that can be laid out more efficiently. It's ideal. But we're even looking at office buildings that are 4 or 5 stories that just sit vacant because it has a large open floor plan and we can access the spaces we need to put in new electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. Florida, they had something, a Senate resolution or a Senate bill passed in July 1st of last year that allows for the conversion of any asset to affordable housing if at least, I believe it's 40% of the new units are for affordable housing. What does that mean? I can go and buy a shopping mall now. I can spend, okay, here's $1 billion. I bought the shopping mall. It is going housing. The municipality cannot stop me. Building can issue, hey, this is all the requirements you're going to need to build it to make the building codes work. They can do that, which is the same on any project. But the zoning power has been taken away from the local municipalities because we have such a housing crunch here in Florida. And so, there are ideal classes. I mean, as a contractor, it's kind of weird. You would think I'd want ones with the most construction revenue, right? But it's not about my top line all the time. And revenue wise, it's about the bottom line as well. And as a capital fund manager, I'm looking at an even keel of, yes, I want construction revenue, but I don't want to over improve. And if I have all the plumbing in place and all the electrical in place, and now I'm just doing superficial cuts and finishes, then all of a sudden that's a project that's going to start generating revenue a lot faster than a 2-year construction project converting an office building. They're both valuable. They're both different risk tolerances for an investor. And you'll find some that are like, yeah, I want to hold on to this for 10 years. That's great. And you're going to find some people that are like, hey, I'd like to see cash producing in 6 months. That's great. Different risk tolerances. And so looking for both types of those types of situations. And they're starting to pop up. We're starting to slowly see them produce these Class C properties that we can easily convert to Class A and make them top revenue producing.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're looking at a problem, two problems, and coming up with a solution, right? We talked about the shortage of affordable housing, which we know is really impacting almost every market in the country. And then you have these commercial real estate assets that are, heading the wrong direction. Office buildings being one of those, maybe some old motel buildings. So to come in there and find a creative solution, that's what we do as investors. And I think for you, on the construction side, you're uniquely positioned to do that because you have that keen eye for development and construction. So you're going to understand how to navigate that. So I'll be really curious to see how you develop into this space and the support you get, because I think this is an option that people can do all over the country. So really, really important to pay attention to that. You've got your book coming out. I know that's dropping June 1st officially, but by the time our folks are listening to our conversation, they will be able to pre-order that. What are they going to find when they check out this book?
They're going to find an Oprah bestseller. I'm joking. I hope, right? But I'm not an author out there to be doing touring circuits. That's not what I'm looking to do. What I'm looking to do is give a little bit of background on myself as a contractor, how I'm exploring different things and disrupting the industry. It's funny that you said solution in your last comment there, because we always like to say we offer Tomco solutions to real estate problems and construction. But the book talks about me growing up in a poor environment. It talks about some of the challenges I face just in life, how many times you fall on your butt, because we all do. The most successful people have fallen on their butt a lot. And it kind of talks about my march up to 40. June 1st is my 40th birthday. The projects that I have accomplished, the projects I'm going to accomplish over the next 10 years. So it's not a construction book, but it is. It's not a networking book, but it is. It's not a self-help book, but it is. It's just kind of a quirky, fascinating tale about how I did things differently. All the way through the last chapters are going to start talking about the actual disruptive effects, like being part owner in an AI company, and we're targeting AI construction projects and trying to reduce the need for staff that's not there anymore with AI. Trying to augment the efficiency of people. We're going to talk about what we're looking at in affordable housing. We're going to talk about the contractor that started a capital company. And those usually aren't the same people that have both a finance background and a construction background. Those don't overlap. So we're trying to bring that disruption to the market. We're trying to bring that out in the book and say, hey, look at the creative things we're doing, and we're looking for partners. We're looking for investors. We're looking for subcontractors. We're looking for like-minded people. We're looking for those people that want to make an impact in the community, and might make a profit doing it, or might just do it for doing good, or might be both. That's what we're looking to do. I have no problem with doing great projects and doing certain things at cost. I also know that I can still do them at less cost than other developers, or the same cost as other developers, and I'm giving back to the community. I'm focused on a project that somebody may not want to take because there's shinier projects elsewhere. But let's clean up this area in the community. Let's get the crime out. Let's get a safe school set up. Let's get a community garden. Let's do other things in that community with these developments to provide more effective and cost-effective housing and a safer environment, and clean up our community while we're doing it. So they don't have to be mutually exclusive goals anymore. They can all be the same. You can feel good about what you're doing.
No, I love that, and I definitely look forward to checking out your book when you have it come out. And you talked about some of the hardships in your early days, and going through some of those challenges, and ultimately, leading up to your 40th birthday and where you're headed moving forward in your business. I imagine that there's been some challenges even in the construction business, and some days as you were kind of transitioning into this field. Can you talk to us a little bit about? Sorry, let me say it again. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those challenges?
Yeah, most recently, did anybody hear about the year 2020 and this little pandemic that came around? Want to talk about challenges. I, at the time, was working towards institutional construction. So like Zillow offers, Invitation Homes, those type of big providers. I had a niche market where I used to work in that industry, so I knew how to target that industry and provide quality services. Well, 2020 shut everything down. We literally, by the time we started getting back going, it was almost 2021. And our walks, even in the beginning of 2021, we couldn't walk with the people that were issuing us jobs. They had to go in, write everything up with tape, call us while we're walking through the house, looking at the tape and the notes. It is, it was challenging. I had to shift my focus from corporate construction to disaster relief and to retail construction, because it just that the market did not dictate being in that area anymore. But the cool thing is I've taken those experiences of volume construction projects, value engineering, and I've brought them to my clients to say, hey, we can save a little money here, here, and here. And these are techniques that are used by major companies that are investing billions of dollars. But most of the average investor doesn't have $1 billion to invest. They don't have those infrastructure resources or experience of going through thousands of homes I have been a part of the construction process in. And so then I bring that to the table to investors as well, to talk to them about, going back to, it's not emotion, it's flipping. It's to get a quality product out there. It's to make your rent or to make your sales price. So I kind of have very unique approach of how I tackle things.
I love it. I mean, we got to go through those challenges to, grow and scale and become better investors. And, ultimately for you to get to the point where you're at today, with your company, Tomco Solutions. For folks who want to learn more, check out that book. You can go to TommyWhitehead.com, and we'll make sure you put a link to that pre-order link as well for your book. Right now, we're going to transition to a round of insights. Tommy, give us a failure or an apparent failure that set you up for later success.
2020 was a big failure. I know I mentioned that earlier, but it was. My client line wasn't diversified enough to support a drastic change like a pandemic. All the economic markers said, hey, this is a good industry to be in. My experience said it was a good industry. I was making good money in it. It was great. But nobody could have anticipated something as catastrophic as a pandemic. Whereas residential projects for homeowners were still going on, they were going on with proper protocols. I wasn't in that niche market. I wasn't in that direct to Bob's kitchen, direct to Jan's bathroom market. I was in the market of publicly traded companies that instituted COVID protocols that are nationally effective. So while there were less restrictions in some areas, there were more restrictions in others. And instead of trying to parse out to each market, they basically just blanketed it with the strictest protocols. And so it was a massive challenge. I didn't have revenue for 2020. It was, I mean, just imagine going from just a startup company that is just blowing it out of the water, getting great results, to zero and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit. I mean, it was probably $1 million in revenue I lost that year. So it was insane. So it hit the reset. I thought, should I just go work for somebody else? I have a lot of experience. I could probably make a few calls, get a 6-figure job, and just do my 9 to 5. And then I thought, no, that's not my personality. My husband told me, he's like, you haven't punched a clock. You haven't showed up to an office in so long. He's like, you wouldn't physically be able to handle it. He says, that's not your personality type. You're the leader, the creator. You've got to be all over the place. That's who you are. And he was right. And I'm glad I just shifted focus and got into disaster restoration and direct to consumer products and started to take off. It's been very successful. So it was turning a catastrophe into resounding success.
Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
For business owners, read 10x is easier than 2x. Listen to it. I'm an audiobook guy. I've gotten through about 26 or 27 in the last year because I'm in the car all the time, so it's easy to put that on. But 10x is better than 2x, and it's not related specifically to construction, but to business in general. And it is how you can take minute things off your plate. And those minute things take a lot more of your time than the big things do. And the minute things aren't what's paying the bills, the big things are. And so you get stuck into the minutia, and it really details on how easy it is to just put that on somebody else's plate. And then you can focus on the real stuff. So I recommend that for construction company owners, for any business owners. It's a great book. Not as good as Building Success, my book, of course, but a close second.
There we go. So I think we hit two with one stone. My next question was going to be the book. You gave Audible, being a digital guy, so we'll take both of those there. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
I have a morning cup of tea every morning. I know it's weird. I don't do caffeine the rest of the day. I can't tolerate caffeine. I can tolerate a lot of things, but not caffeine. So I like to get up in the morning, have my cup of tea, and have 10 to 15 minutes of quiet time where I scroll through the news. I like to see what's happening, and more local news than anything. I like to see what's happening locally in the Tampa Bay region, and it gives me perspective on what's happening when I read national news. So it's just a little quiet time. Nobody's awake. Nobody bothers me. It's just the cats circling me for their breakfast while I have my cup of tea.
All right. Give me your number one insight for investing in distressed assets.
Don't trust the deal that's way too good to be true. Okay? Too many investors say, like, oh, it's only $15,000 and this is great. Well, why is a house $15,000? Oh, well, it had a sinkhole, but it was remediated. Do you realize if you sell it to somebody, you might not be able to get insurance? So it sounds like a great deal. If you're going to hold it for a rental property, you'd probably be fine. If you're going to sell it, it's going to be a huge challenge. So don't trust the great deal unless you've really checked it out, and don't trust the high pressure techniques of 7 other people are looking for this. Well, okay, then that's not the deal for me. So look before you leap. That's the best advice there.
Love it. All right, let's lighten the mood. You are in Tampa. You are pretty well known and networking in the area. So I'm sure you do a lot of lunch and dinners. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Oh, well, I mean, it's the Tampa Club. I'm a board member there, so I think I'm obligated to take that. No, I'm not obligated to, but the Tampa Club is a private business club, and you don't see a lot of people in the trades professions up there. You don't even see too many people in the real estate investing professions, which is odd because it's the 42nd floor of the Bank of America building, the tallest building in the region. It's a very high-end club, but affordable, and it's where real networking takes place. And so, yes, it's my favorite place to grab a bite to eat because I love the grouper there, but I'm also kind of working every time I go up there in a fun way. So I double dip. I'm always looking for the next opportunity. I'm always talking to the next professional, learning about the next immigration trade, learning about the next judge that's running for office, all the cool people that I meet all the time while having my favorite place to eat, having a bite of that grouper. So, yeah.
The Tampa Club it is. Well, you gave some great information, Tommy. I love talking to you about, your background, getting into construction on accident, really being able to grow that business and then making that pivot when 2020 happened, where you're headed now and, your community centric approach. I think it's really great for us to think about. You gave a couple of really, really good nuggets. One, you talked about make sure you follow the right process and protocol, get those permits, hire that contractor that's licensed, that, is bonded, that can do the work the right way. But then also make sure you are being an investor. Don't go into a project and upgrade things or over improve without really understanding the cost or the return on that cost, the return on that investment that you're looking to make. So really, really great insights there. We'd love to, stay in touch with you and see what you've got going on. I know your book's going to come out, so we'll have that pre-order link in our show notes there. Again, for anybody who wants to follow up and catch up with Tommy, you can go to tommywhitehead.com. Tommy, thanks again for coming on the show today, being a great guest. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.
John, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.